My 5th grade book report is on the most memorable day of my life. The most memorable day of my life so far by Jeffrey Russell. My brother Bobby had the coolest bar mitzvah. The food was outrageous. Spread out over all the room was all this food. They had whitefish and tuna fish and smoked fish and herring and hard-boiled eggs and egg salad and eggplant salad and coleslaw and carrot sticks and celery sticks and some really cool dip and bread and rolls and bagels and non-dairy cream cheese and non-dairy cottage cheese and this really hard non-dairy cheese that smelled really bad, but everyone was eating it anyway. The second table had chicken and roast beef and corned beef and marinated beef and pastrami and baked beans and rice and string beans and broccoli and carrots and fondue and beets and a Chinese poo-poo platter. I never heard of having beets at a bar mitzvah, but I think they were made special for my Aunt Helene. You see, my Aunt Helene, she loves beets and borscht and that weird-looking stuff called chav. I have this theory that my Aunt Helene's hair stands up so straight because it grows that way from all the borscht and chav she's drunk herself. The dessert table had cakes and cookies and eclairs and cupcakes and ice cream and sherbet and candies and nuts and mints and dried fruit and grapes and strawberries and fruit cups and this big pan of hot fudge. But it wasn't really hot fudge. It was non-dairy hot fudge. The last table had big bowls of Digel, Mylanta, and Tums. While everyone was stuffing their brains out, a table filled with all my uncles and cousins got into this really big fight. I don't even know what it was about. All I know is that they weren't talking very nice to each other. And this was family. It was like they hated being related to each other. I felt bad for my brother Bobby because he had worked so hard preparing and this was really his party. I watched as Aunt Helene drank her borscht throughout the entire argument. Then they started throwing napkins. I think if everyone in this world were like my Aunt Helene, no one would go to war. The End by Jeffrey Russell. September 4th, 1974, my bar mitzvah. The only thing I remember about that very financially rewarding day is how my grandpa took me by the elbow, pulled me into his room, closed the door, and told me a story, and taught me a song. Neither of which I can remember too clearly right now. I remember I was more fascinated at the time with my grandfather's big bushy beard, his wide-brimmed hat, his long black coat, and the deep curving scar he had in his left cheek, which was a bar mitzvah gift given to him by a drunken Cossack in one of the last pogroms in Kiev. What I do remember is after he sang me that song, his face became very serious, and almost as if scolding me, he said, "You're Jewish. Do you know what that means? It means you belong to the chosen people of the world's hatred. An eternal hatred for an eternal people." As a 13-year-old boy, I kind of looked up at Grandpa and went, "Okay." Not having any idea, of course, what Grandpa was talking about. Well, it wasn't about 5 years later until I realized I was going to a small college in southern New Jersey, and I was a writing major. I wanted nothing more than to be a writer. And I attended a lecture entitled "The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews." Well, it was at this lecture that I first began to understand what Grandpa meant. Brothers and sisters, the so-called Jew. And I must say, so-called Jew, because you're not the true Jew. You are Johnny-come lately Jew. You are a European strain of peoples who just crawl under all walls in the caves and hills of Europe, eating juniper roots and eating each other. Who are the slumlords of the black black community? The white imposter Jew. Who was sucking our blood in the black community? The white imposter Arab and the white imposter Jew. Sucking our blood on a daily and consistent basis. While they sell us pork, they don't even eat it themselves. Oh, Professor Griff was right when he spoke there at Columbia University. Over in New York City. He was right. The De Beers mines, Oppenheimer, hundreds of our brothers and sisters in South Africa, thousands lose their lives, miles underground mining diamonds for white Jews. Oh, that's why you call yourselves Goldstein, Silverstein, and Mr. Rubenstein. Because you've been stealing gold, rubies, and silver since the beginning of time. That's why we can't wear a little ring or a necklace without calling it jewelry. Yeah, we say that, we say jewelry, but we know it's jewelry. And we found out something very interesting. Brothers and sisters, we found out that the Federal Reserve ain't really owned by the federal government. It's owned by, you guessed it, the Jews. I don't care who sits in that seat in the White House. You can be sure that the Jews run that seat from where they are behind the scenes. No white man, no white Jews ever been in bondage for 400 years in Egypt. And you're not the chosen people of God. Stop telling that lie. Let's go a little bit further with this. Most of you run the libraries. Libraries. ABC, CBS, NBC, Hollywood, period. These people have a secret relationship with us. They have our entertainers in the palm of their hand, our athletes in their hip pockets. Our politicians are in the palm of the white man's hand, but in particular, in the palm of the Jewish white man's hand. Now the Jew, the so-called Jew, he tells us VVVV suffer like you. VVV were in Montgomery, Alabama. VVV were in Selma, Alabama. Always with you in civil rights. But let's look at the fact, brothers and sisters, what they've really done is they've used us as cannon fodder. I'm a truth terrorist. I'm a knowledge gangster. And let me tell you, God will take my enemy off the face of this planet. That old no-good Jew, that old hook-nosed, bagel-eating, lox-eating, just crawled out of the caves and hills of Europe, so-called damn Jew. I will never apologize to that bastard. Never. What Khalil Muhammad taught me that day, no rabbi or teacher was ever able to do before. He made me, in a weird way, proud to be Jewish. I was angry. I was excited. I wanted to find out more, learn more, do more. Funny, the image that sticks out in my mind is the bodyguards this guy had. A dozen little Farrakhan lookalikes, standing at attention in their shark-skinned, double-breasted suits, bile practically drooling out of their mouths onto their lapels. I remember going home, turning on the television. They were interviewing some of the demonstrators at this lecture. One after one after one. Finally, a rabbi comes on the screen. I said, great, finally, someone's speaking up for our people. It was a rabbi who, at the time, I had not yet heard of, one Rabbi Meir Kahane. And he looked straight at the screen and he said that he would be speaking at that same lecture hall 1 week later. And he urged any Jew who cared about being Jewish to come and hear him speak. He was talking to me. Kahane is the Jewish Farrakhan. He epitomizes the ugliness of Jewish racism, and he does nothing to promote peace, especially in Israel. This was written by a Morton Cutler, the Jewish Heritage Center in Minneapolis. I have an instant answer if you want peace in Israel. As a matter of fact, I may form a new group called Peace Instantly. Answer's very simple. Give it up. Give it up. Give up peace. You'll probably also have another Auschwitz if that's not my answer. I want you to know I'm interested in one thing, saving Jews. And the greatest danger to the state of Israel today It's not the 22 Arab states surrounding Israel. It's not the PLO. It is the Arabs within Israel, the Palestinians. You know that there's no such name, there's no such concept? Do you know where the name Palestinians comes from? I'll tell you. The Roman Emperor Hadrian, after he crushed the revolt of Bar Kokhba, was determined to eliminate the last vestige of Jewishness, and he decided to change the name from Judea to Palestina, after the Philistines. What if he hadn't changed the name? Hadrian wakes up in a good mood, doesn't change the name. Throughout the centuries, it goes down Judea, 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 Judea. We would now be fighting the Judeans. Now, in normal instances, an existing people gives its name to a country. The Angles called it England, the Franks called it France, the Germanic tribes called it Germany. Only in this insanity does a Roman emperor invent a name, change the country's name, the Arabs come in, voila, they're Palestinians. They named it Disneyland. Can you imagine? No guilt. No guilt, the overworld, nothing. Nothing. One country in the history of the world starts 5 wars, loses 5 wars, and demands land. One country is attacked 5 times, wins 5 times, and gives it up. I don't hate Arabs, I love Jews. And there's a great, great difference. Let's talk about our earlier question here this evening. Let me tell you a little story about Bernie. Bernie goes to school, Berkeley, UCSD, Emory. Comes home to his parents in, Dallas, Great Neck, Greater Neck, Greatest Neck, whichever way the Jew wants to conjugate his suburbs. And he comes home with his girlfriend, Bridget. Bridget, he says, Mom, Dad, Mazel Tov, we're getting married. What can they tell him in 25,000 words or more? They can't tell him why he should marry a nice, pretty, intelligent girl merely because she's not Jewish. So what do? They send them to the temple rabbi. The temple. The rabbi. On the island. Everything in modern Jewish times starts with a definite article. This rabbi now has to tell Bernie why he should marry a nice, pretty, intelligent girl simply because she's not Jewish. What can he say? All he can say is, Bernie, Judaism is ethical. Was there ever a greater racist statement made than that? Catholics can't be ethical. Buddhists can't be ethical. Atheists can't be ethical. They're bankrupt. All of the Jewish leaders who are a cause for an intermarriage rate in this area alone of over 75%. Racism. You see, we have begun to use words with no meanings. To me, words are a tool and they have meaning, precise meanings. Racism is based on race. This is a religious question. It's a religious question. I want Jewish youngsters to wake up every morning knowing that, yes, we are a chosen people. That's racism. I invented the term chosen people. It's in the Bible 100 times. What are we ashamed of? We stood at Mount Sinai. We heard God speak. We were indeed chosen. What are we ashamed of? The trouble with most Jews is that they don't want the Gentiles to hear that the Jews think that they have the truth. We do. We do. Every Baptist knows that the Jews got the Torah from God at Mount Sinai. Problem is, most Jews don't. I want Jewish youngsters to know that being Jewish means being special. I want them to know what that something special is. It's not our blood. Jewish blood is no different from anybody else's blood. And it's not our head. I'm sorry to tell you this, but the Jewish head is no smarter than anybody else's head. And that's not what makes us special. There's only one thing that we have that no one else has, and that is a Torah. We took that something special and blew it away. For a melting pot. For decades, we heard the 11th Jewish commandment, thou shalt melt. Because then of course, there would be no anti-Semites, because if we're different, they'll hate us. But of course, if we're not different, they'll love us. They'll love us. Jewish leaders sit here, they have a defiant idea of the anti-Semitism raging in this country at this very minute. I mean, let's be honest. What Gentiles do they end up with? They go to dinners, conferences, national conference of Christians and Jews, Mort and the Christians. They sit and they talk and they exchange compliments and conversation and plaques and your plaque and my plaque and plaque. That's what you find out about what people think of the Jews. That's not what you find out. And if I had it in my power, I would compel Mort to go for a week into a bar. To a bar, not a trendy bar. I mean a neighborhood bar. Sit, listen, as the schnapps goes in, what comes out? All that hate and the envy. The Jews own this, and the Jews run this, and the Jews. God forbid there should be an economic crash in this country. God forbid. It's the Jews that will be the scapegoat. Now, if you speak to Mort tomorrow morning and you say, Mort, I heard Kahana speak, he spoke about anti-Semitism. You know what Mort's going to say? Mort will say, Kahana's paranoid, this isn't Germany. Well, something's right. He's right, it's not Germany. And I got news for him. Neither was Germany once. And in Germany, when those few Jews started saying, hey, this Hitler is dangerous, they said, are you crazy? This isn't Poland. That's right. Poland was Poland, Germany was Germany, and America is America. Only a racist thinks that the Germans were different. Germans were different. Germans don't have horns, Germans don't have tails, Germans are people like everybody else. And I can name you 10 other European peoples who are more anti-Semitic than the Germans were. And when Hitler rose up and cried out, Juden, 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 Jews, 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 the Germans said, he doesn't mean me. He means the Ostjuden, the East European Jews, with a long black coat and a black hat. But Hitler meant all Jews. The beards and beardless, circumcised and young, and those whose mothers were not Jewish and whose grandmothers were not Jewish to him, they were still Jewish. And the Germans did this not because they were an inherently evil people. It's not true. They did this because there was a terrible, terrible crash. People lost their jobs, people lost their hopes. Someone rose up and said, I will give you hope, and they followed him because he gave them hope. You want to tell me that that could not happen here? You want to tell me that that could not happen here? God said there was an economic crash and they took away the Super Bowl? Of course it can. Of course it can. I want Jewish youngsters to appreciate their Judaism, not because the Gentile hates them and therefore forces them to be Jewish, but for positive reasons, for Judaism, for Torah. It's magnificent. Don't throw it away. Don't throw it away. The worst hell is to grow old and to look back upon a life that was wasted. To look back and say, what was it all for? What was it about? That's hell. Paradise and joy is to look back upon a life that may have been very, very difficult, but in which you did great things. So do great things. Do great things. I want to finish with a word, Idvar Torah. I'm a rabbi. I'm a rabbi. Yes, Mort, I'm a rabbi. The Talmud tells us that when the Jews were about to receive the Torah, all the mountains clamored together. They rushed to God. They said, please, God, let the Torah be given on my peak. I want the honor. God says, nope, I got a little peak named Sinai, and I'm going to give it on that peak. And the reason is because I want to teach the Jews to be humble. And that's the end of the story in the Talmud. Now, the Ger Rebbe, who was a great, great scholar, looked at this little story, and he asks a very good question. He says, if God wanted to teach the Jews to be humble, why didn't he give the Torah in a valley? Good question. Can't get much lower than a valley. And he also gives a very good answer. He says, because God wanted to teach the Jews two things. One, be humble. Two, don't be too humble. Never be a valley. Don't let anybody step on you. Don't be obsessed with being loved. Not love, respect. Respect. They love us after every Holocaust. And they build us Holocaust commissions and museums and requiem masses at St. Patrick's. I'm sick and tired of that. I'm sick and tired of your sites and Kaddish. I want to live. And if that means that they won't love me, too bad. I want respect. I don't want respect. I demand respect. The only way you get respect is if you have self-respect. have self-respect, have Jewish pride, and have Jewish knowledge. We have it in our power. In this era, this messianic era, when God has performed miracles greater than what we've seen in 3,000 years, we have it in our power to bring the Messiah hastily in our days. Amen, amen. Amen. Listening to this man, I wasn't sure if I was hearing the Jewish Khalil Muhammad or not. Could it be possible I was being lured in by his anti-propaganda propaganda? Is it possible that a man who was hated by so many, Jews and non-Jews alike, who was called a militant extremist and accused of spreading nothing but hate, have some underlying truth in all his rhetoric? The answer for me was I had to investigate myself. And for me, it meant not only investigating, but investigating where it all began in Israel. So I booked a flight on El Al. Off I was. I had my first kosher airplane meal. To my surprise, it wasn't that bad. And for the first time, I wasn't embarrassed by middle-aged Jewish ladies sitting next to me saying things like, "Stewardess." I can't eat this. I can't eat this. I can't eat. I felt like I was with family. 2 meals, a snack, and about 13 hours later, I was woken by a 747 full of applauding passengers as we touched down in the morning. I remember waking up, looking out the window. The first thing that I saw was the Israeli flag. For those of you who've never seen the Israeli flag in Israel, go. Go. People rushed by me, walking down the steps. They were kissing the ground. I felt that maybe I shouldn't walk on here or something. Well, I made it to the terminal, got my luggage, and got myself on a bus to Jerusalem. And any fatigue I had previously felt was now gone, as I now found myself on a bus filled with Israeli soldiers, complete in full uniform, guns by their side. I felt I was amidst the backbone of Israel, a soldier. Every face told a story, a fantastic story, a sad story, a real story. By your determination and professional skills and your devotion, you have contributed to saving the lives of the wounded and thereby preserved an entire world. Israeli Defense Force. You have to grow up pretty fast when you are in the Israeli army. After you've held your best friend dying in your arms, life looks a bit paler. The vibrant colors of youth seem to fade away. Nothing seems quite as bright. I was the commander of a tank that had to drive into southern Lebanon. We had received word that guerrillas had set up camp within firing distance of the Golan, and under international law, we were not only allowed but required to go in and remove them. After successfully completing our mission, the three of us were on our way home and we were heavily fired upon. And I ended up driving the tank home alone, my two comrades dead at my feet. But we've been trained for these things. 6 months ago, my 12-year-old sister was stabbed at Jaffa Gate on her way to Sunday school. It was an Arab that killed her. But I'm okay, we've been trained for these things. So long now we've wanted peace. Who doesn't want peace? Peace with our Arab neighbors, coexistence. I'm tired. Tired of burying family and friends Tired of the nightmares I still have? Tired of hoping for something that seems more and more like a dream? Lately, I've been putting on these things to fill it. Look, I've never believed in God. I'm not sure I do now, but I just know that my grandfather would put these on every morning except the Sabbath, wrap these straps around his hand and wear this leather box on his head. And somehow, just knowing that my grandfather did this, his father, and his father, gives me comfort. Pray to God. I pray for many things. Forgiveness. Pray that someday I will never have to use this. I must tell you that 3 years ago, Purim, after that horrible massacre in Hebron, the president of Israel went to that site to bow his head. And he called it the worst day in the history of Zionism. Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin ordered all settlers deemed dangerous to be detained, disarmed, and arrested. And Benjamin Netanyahu, the opposition Likud leader, called it a despicable abomination, while Jews in New York prayed for the Muslim dead in a Christian church. Good. But I wonder, when 22 Jews were murdered in the Istanbul synagogue, at prayer, I did not see Yasser Arafat running to any Israeli officers to express his sorrow. And when buses are blown to bits in the streets of Tel Aviv filled with crowded passengers, I don't see Arab states running to make an investigation. And when Israeli cities are hit with Iraqi Scuds, where Jewish men are shot in their wheelchairs and thrown overboard, I see Arabs rejoicing in their streets, not weeping. And just recently, when the Israeli Defense Force captured and killed the men responsible for many of the suicide bombings, your Nobel Peace Prize winner, Yasser Arafat, publicly praised this man, called him a martyr. Imagine if Yitzhak Rabin had called Baruch Goldstein a martyr. Baruch atah Hashem. King of Melech HaOlam. Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe. I beg you to take us out of this hell. And so, being in Israel, my first time, I did what many first-timers did. I toured. And I remember being in Tel Aviv with our tour guide, and we had a German tourist in our group, and I remember her asking a question. We were being shown the famous Mann concert hall, the famous Mann auditorium in Tel Aviv. And the German tourist said, I commend you Israelis. I tip my hat to you. After what my people did to your people, to name them the Mann Auditorium, after the famous writer, German writer, Thomas Mann, I tip my hat to you. And the tour guide said, no, you're mistaken. The Mann Auditorium is not named after the German writer Thomas Mann. It's named after a man from Philadelphia named Frederick Mann. And the tourist said, really? What did he write? And the guy said, a check. Well, they say if you walk long enough in Israel, you are bound to bump into someone you know. Well, there I was in Tel Aviv, minding my own business, walking down Ben Yehuda Street, when suddenly I hear someone call out, Bobby Russell? Hey, it's Mark Stern. I sat right behind you, Hebrew Day. Cool. How you doing? All right. Hey, you look good, man. That yarmulke? You look good. Yeah. All right. What me? I make movies now. Yeah, I make documentaries in the BBC, the British Broadcasting Company. Yeah, they're producing my first documentary. Oh, it's great, man. I've been working here about 3 months on this film now. Hey, who'd ever think a kid from Irvine, California would be interviewing Palestinians in their home, in their horrible situation here, huh? Yeah, really. Unbelievable. Oh, man. I'm telling you something. With you, me, and our tribe called the Holy Land, it's a disgrace, man, the way these people are treated. Unbelievable. 2 weeks ago, I'm interviewing a home. I'm interviewing a family right in their home. We hear a knock at the door. It's a unit of 40 soldiers telling everybody to pack up and leave. And if we refuse, they said they'd be happy to bulldoze us down with the rest of the contents. Why? Hey, they gave no reason. Is that right? Is that just? Is that holy? Look, they have claims here, too. They've been here for the same hundreds and thousands of years. You know, they have homes here. Look, what are we bickering about? When you get right down to it, we're bickering about real estate. That's what it is. You get Donald Trump to come in here, build a few hotels, give a few jobs. Well, I'm joking. But I mean, the truth is, I mean, what do these people want? They want to own a little land, right? They want to govern themselves, have a little dignity. Isn't it a God-given right to live a life of dignity? I mean, come on. You give these people a little dignity, peace is right around the corner. Anyway, that's what my film is about. I'm interviewing them, and we open in about 3 weeks. Hey, if you're in town, you come to the screening, I'll get you in the door. What do you say? All right, well, you let me know, right? Hey, it's great seeing you. Cool. Later. Amazing how friends go their separate ways. Well, as God's plan would have it, I enrolled into a yeshiva. And I started learning about things that kept my grandpa Jewish, and his father, things like Shabbos, kashrut, and prayer, and I was into it. I was on a roll, and I decided to take my writing talent that I had worked so hard on in college and channel it into a screenplay about the 8 months that I had spent in yeshiva. Yeah. I wrote like 100 pages in 3 days. I was on a roll. I wrote like another 2 rewrites within a week. I had this producer friend of mine in Los Angeles. I faxed the whole thing to him. Just to hear what he thought. Joel Lieberman. Bobby, baby, how are you? Yeah. You called from Israel. Hey, Israel is real, huh? Okay, listen. I got the script right here. I bombed it up and everything. We're friends, right? I can tell you the truth, right? I mean, how long have we known each other, Bobby? No, we've known each other longer than that. How long have I been a producer here, Bobby? No, I've been a producer longer than that. Okay, listen, but we're friends here, right? I can tell you? Yeah, I don't understand. No, I mean, what are you trying to say here? I mean, well, I'm going to be very honest with you. It could use some changes. Yeah, it can. I'm your friend, right? Okay, look, I got another call coming in. Could you hold on 1 second? Hold on, Bobby. I'll be right with you. I know you're long distance. Hold on. Joel Lieberman. Marky, baby, how are you? Yeah. Look, I called before. I need to talk to you about something. You're never going to guess why I have on the other line here. Yeah, your friend and mine, back to the shtetl Bobby. That's it. Yeah. Called me from Israel. You're not going to believe the thing he faxed me here. Yeah. All right, look, I need to talk to you. Could you hold on? I'm going to get him off and I'll come right back to you, okay? Because I need to talk to you. Hold on, okay? Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Bobby? Okay, listen, I'm going to be very quick with you here because I'm your buddy and I'm going to tell you the truth. You have a very beautiful story here, great story, unhappy ending. Yeah, you have a guy walking out on a girl, I'm correct, at the very end, on the grounds that she isn't Jewish. Right? Bobby, okay. Bobby, you know who I am, you know what I do, I make movies, motion pictures, right? You know we need a product that's going to put the tushes in the seats, I don't have to tell you this, right? Okay. I don't make documentaries for yeshivas, Bobby, okay? So, but look, okay. I respect your integrity, Bobby. Yes, your integrity is a beautiful thing. I respect your own personal religious revival, I do. It's integrity doesn't put gas in my jack. You know what I'm talking about, Bobby? Okay, so listen to me. Listen, we're friends, right? Listen. Hold on 1 second, okay? Just hold on 1 second, please. Hold on. Marky, 3.5 seconds, okay? Bobby? Okay, listen. I'm going to tell you the truth here, Bobby. You're in Israel, right? Here's what you do. Get a massage. Take a shiatsu, relax, you'll call me, we'll talk. Yeah, we can talk about these things, okay? Okay. 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 Okay, gotta run here. Okay, yeah, shalom to you. Okay, bye-bye, bye-bye. Marky, yeah, mark fine, please, Joel. Joel. Just Joel. Thank you. Mark, baby, how are you? Don't keep me waiting long, please. Hi, yeah, listen, here's what we got here. What's the story with Death Zone? Tell Schwarzenegger it's pay or play. Look, I got clients willing to write sequels for this thing, okay? Let's go. The quicker we're in, the quicker we're out. That's it, baby. Love you too. When? Wednesday the 24th? Can't make it. Ah, it's Christmas Eve. I promised dinner with a wife under the tree. What can I say? Yeah, well, yeah, if I had married a nice Jewish girl like you, I'd be cooking her dinner, right? Okay, well, why do you do this to me? Yeah, every time of year, you always throw this in my face, okay? Yeah, all right, well, just stop it, all right? Enough, Jew boy. Thank you very much. Stop it. I'm not angry. Okay, so you'll call me on that other thing? Okay. Love you, Dave. Bye-bye. Joel Lieberman. Hi, honey. Did I say I'd pick up the tree? I won't pick up the tree. You don't need to remove it. There's room in the car. Yes, I will pick it up, okay? When? No. 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 Because I'm not going to Mass. That's why. I promised dinner under the tree. That's it. No. No. Then take the kids. I'm not angry. Look. I got a long distance call now, okay? I gotta go. I love you too. Bye-bye. I used to be just like Joel. Power breakfasts, power lunches, artillery dinners. Hungry for the top of that ladder. Well, time and money ran out for me in Israel, and it was now time for me to go home. And the day I was coming home, I remember, there's different headlines in Israel every day. The day I was coming home, they were arguing whether or not they should use a postage stamp with the picture of Yasser Arafat. They were having problems. Evidently, people were spitting on the wrong side. So, anyway. We were told in flight that we would be making an unexpected stop, a 9-hour layover in Munich. What happens? And I thought that this would be a good opportunity for me to do something I've always wanted to do, and that's visit a concentration camp. And I knew that the Dachau concentration camp was just minutes by bus from the airport. As a matter of fact, when I got off the plane, when I asked which bus do I take, it said, oh, you take the bus that says Dachau concentration camp. You wouldn't want to confuse it with the A line going to the wall. After viewing the horrible crematoriums, the barracks, the rooms, things I had seen pictures of, a question kept spinning around in my head. And that question was, why did these people die? What was the reason? And the answer that kept coming back to me over and over and over was they were Jewish. They were Jewish. So then the question that became in my mind, well, what does it mean to be Jewish? What does that mean? Does it mean holding hard to the custom of Sunday morning bagels and lox? No, it doesn't mean that. Does it mean having a big nose and dark eyes? No. Does it mean just being a little bit smarter than everybody else? No, it meant none of those things. And I thought that if I were to let my Judaism assimilate away, if I were to ignore it, to lie dormant, that in essence what I'd be saying is that the 6 million died in vain. After all, I thought, if their only crime was being Jewish, how dare I not do everything in my power to uphold what they died for? Well, we got back on the plane, we landed safely. Funny, no one was kissing the ground at JFK Airport. And when I got home, I decided it was time for me to make a decision. I wanted to find out and decide who I'd be spending the rest of my life with. That was one decision I wanted to make first. And for some reason, I picked up the Jewish newspaper to do some shopping. You would not believe what I found there. Single, attractive, successful, self-absorbed woman. 34, seeks to save money by spending yours. Yeshiva bacher, Torah scholar, long beard payas, seeks same in a woman. Israeli woman, 28, works behind falafel counter in pizza shop, looking for Jewish man with sense of hummus. Nice Jewish guy, 38, no skeletons, no baggage, no personality. Are you the girl I spoke with at the Kiddush after show last week? You excused yourself to get more horseradish for your gefilte fish, but you never returned. How can I contact you again? P.S. I was the one with the cholent stain on my tie. Female graduate student studying Kabbalah, Zohar, exorcism of Dybbuk, seeks mensch, no weirdos, please. Divorced Jewish man seeks partner to attend shul with. Light Shabbos candles, celebrate holidays, build sukkah together, attend brises, bar mitzvahs, religion not important. Single Jewish woman, 29, to discos, mountain find me with skiing, track and field, has slight limp. And of course they use letters to define who they are. J for Jewish, O for Orthodox, F for female, M for male. So they have a OJM, seeks nice Jewish girl, OJF, seeks nice Jewish boy, OJ Simpson, seeks nice Jewish no! Anyway, those were some of the firstals that I found, and I decided that was not the route for me to go. I decided on a more traditional approach, but that's for another reason. In the meantime, the task at hand was dealing with my own family, about my changed lifestyle, my inconvenient metamorphosis. I had to explain to them that I hadn't gone crazy, that I was not part of a fad, that I wasn't grabbing onto this as a crutch in an act of desperation. My mother had the hardest time. How to be a better mother. How to be a better son. Coping with change. You ever wonder who writes these articles? Yeah, I mean, writers do. I mean, week after week, month after month, this is what's wrong with you, this is how you fix it. I have nothing against self-improvement, I'm all for it. But just once, I'd like to read an article that read, "Congratulations, you did it. No need to read any further." Oh, now that's a veranda. Oh, would you look at that set? You know, the name of this magazine always seemed peculiar to me. Better Homes and Gardens. When I look through here, I see lovely rooms, gorgeous verandas. I never see a home. To me, a home was more about the smell or the feel, not the look. What it was like when the power went out and you had to see by candles. Or when the kids spilled soup on the linen tablecloths. That was home. My son called me this afternoon. My baby. My 30-year-old baby of 5. Yeah, the store has an 800 number, so he knows he never has the excuse he can't afford to call. It's been about a year now since I've seen him at his wedding. Oh, you should have seen this wedding. An Orthodox, Hasidic wedding. Yeah. He met a girl in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and they now live in Fairfax. From what I understand, the Mea Shearim of Los Angeles. For about 6 years now, he's been a member of this, well, it's practically a cult, called Chabad Lubavitch. I don't know what got into him. He was always a happy, normal kid growing up. Just like his father, telling jokes, making shtick. Then one summer he takes a trip to Europe, comes back brainwashed. He had a shave, kept his head covered, sometimes with a yarmulke, sometimes with a baseball cap, depending on his mood. And he stopped going out to restaurants. Treif restaurants. He would only eat kosher. Strictly kosher, not kosher style. I remember the first Passover he came home, and he wouldn't eat with us at the family Seder. And it bothered me so much. It still bothers me. I mean, for 25 years my kitchen is good enough, and all of a sudden, well, you'll never guess what he does for a living. Yeah, he's a writer and an actor in Hollywood. Yeah, don't get me wrong, he's not like every other schmender in that town who says they're a a writer and an actor. Bobby is a graduate of the Yale School of Drama, and he actually has gotten some work doing films, commercials, and TV. Yeah. He won't work on Friday night or on Saturday till sundown, and get this. He has a blessing from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Schneerson, for his pursuits. Can you believe this? Yeah. Someday I may be the only mother of a Lubavitcher movie star. So anyway, he says to me he wants to ask me something serious. He wants to know how I feel about him and his wife picking up and moving to Israel. He says, what would you want to do a thing like that for? He says, Mom, this is something I just need to do. I was never one to say no to any of my children's needs. What will you do there, I says to him. God will provide, Mom. I said, honey, Jerusalem is not LA. If you think it's so tough now in Hollywood, what do you think it's going to be like in Israel? God will provide, Mom. I said, but you have to feed your wife, don't you, and God willing, your children? God will provide, Mom. So I figured I'd give him my blessing. It's the only time he ever referred to me and my husband as God. And then I thought for a while, and I said to myself, this must be the final inevitable step, huh? He went on with a fiery passion on how he wants to breathe the Jerusalem air, walk the same streets as Joshua and Rabbi Akiva and King David. Where did I go wrong? I thought I gave my kids a good foundation. All the other kids lead normal, healthy lives, live a local phone call away. Why does Bobby feel it so necessary to move further and further away from his family for his own selfish needs? Doesn't the Torah, which is the manual how he lives his life by now, say to honor your mother and father? Isn't it one of the 10 Commandments? He says, Bobby, you want to move to Israel? Gesundheit. I guess I won't see my grandchildren very much, will I? If at all. Those cults. Those damn brainwashing cults. And my husband? Let's just say we haven't argued so much in the 47 years we've been married since my baby decided to live this new lifestyle. Marvin says, what are you worried? He's happy. Would you prefer to be visiting him in jail? Or having him strung out on drugs somewhere, God forbid? Well, I don't see it as much of a difference. I really don't. Because I don't believe that God wants us to separate ourselves from our family just in order to serve him. And if he does, then he's got a lot of explaining to do. Because he's taken my son away from me, and I resent that. I resent it totally, unequivocally, and without shame. I suppose when we go on our annual visit to Israel, we will visit them. I'll go to the wall and pray, as I always do. But now I'll add a special prayer. A prayer that my son comes home someday. Sorry I yelled at you. Just take care of my baby. It's cold, make sure he has a sweater. I had a dream about my grandpa. It was my bar mitzvah day all over again. He told me that story. He pulled me by the elbow, took me in his room, shut the door. He said, you're 13 years old now. You must know that when God created the world, He was playing a game of hide and seek. And throughout the world, he hid these little sparks of holiness. And our job is to find these sparks and elevate them up to him. He then taught me the song which I had long forgotten. But this time there was one difference. This time, I was dressed just like Grandpa.
Reception outside, and I hope to see you and many more next year.